What's up, guys? It is Wednesday afternoon and the Art House show, and we're already having technical difficulties. There is something going on. I don't know if it's my video card. I originally thought there's going to be... Oh, boy. Let's see here. What is happening? All right. Now we're rolling. All right. Let's check it out, friends. So last weekend, we were at Des Moines GalaxyCon Animate / Nightmare Weekend. First time doing it. Let's put it this way. GalaxyCon in general puts on a very solid show. And even some of the shows that I've done with them that have been like a first year show have been really good. I've done some first year shows with some other folks that were pretty rough. They didn't have very much foot traffic, that sort of thing. So this one, I believe this is the second or third year that they've done Animate in Iowa. I've not done an Animate show with them before. I know they have one in Columbus. I think they have a couple others that they're doing, expanding their brand with that. And then Nightmare Weekend, I had done the Richmond show last year, which was a first year show. And that one's going to keep growing. Last year, it was a little slow. Being a first year show, they had some pretty good, solid like horror guests out there. But this is the first time doing Iowa. In general, like I don't think I've done like an Omaha show. I've done Kansas City, Oklahoma City. I've kind of danced shotgun spray all the way around Iowa. It's nice to be able to just stop there and not have to keep driving. So it was all in all. If you want the answer now up front, I would say yes, Iowa was worth it with an asterisk because some things are changing. I'm going to show you a little bit here. Let's see. Can I add me in there? Let's change. Now that ain't it. What's up, Kings? What's good, man? Struggling a little bit here. There we go. We'll use this one. So, in a word, yes, Iowa was worth it. It was a good time. Didn't have a whole lot of other familiar artists that I knew there. There was one in particular I knew, so made some new good friends and all that good stuff. Get you a shot here of the setup. The challenge that I had at this show was, even though you can make requests for where you want to be placed, the layout of this show did not allow for what I was asking. I always ask for a corner booth facing artist alley for a couple of reasons. Number one, I am an artist. So if people are looking for art, they're going to find me. They're going to end up walking down there. And if I'm facing artist alley, that means, I guess, two things. One is that I'm guaranteed to get traffic coming down my way. And number two, seeing as I have a pretty tall setup, you can probably see my display across artist alley. There's usually a height restriction for those booths for a number of reasons. And because I have a premium booth, I can go higher. That means you can see me. For my friends that are in Artist Alley, it's usually limited to like an 8-foot or 10-foot display. Mainly because you don't have a whole lot of room in Artist Alley to begin with. But if you go much higher than that and you're not tacking down your stuff with either sandbags, I've seen people try to tape their stuff to the floor. That doesn't work. Might help a little, but The last thing you need is a 14-foot display crashing down an artist alley. Someone's going to get hurt, or property's going to be damaged at a minimum. So the challenge I had is that this wall here next to me, there's no vendors. Down a little bit further, there is concessions, and then down a little bit further to the left would be the restrooms. But there just wasn't a ton of traffic circulating that way, mainly because across from me, and I wish I had taken a picture of it. Across from me was David Thornton, who plays Art the Clown. Now, Friday and Saturday, this worked to my advantage to a certain extent because his line would literally come all the way back to my table. Even after they put some of the crowd control measures in place, some tape on the floor and that sort of thing, when he would first be at his booth for signings, I would have people wrapped all the way, probably 20 feet across the floor back to my booth, which actually worked out pretty good because they'd be looking at some of the horror prints I had, the specials I had going on, all that good stuff. I'd be able to talk to them a little bit. And I was able to turn that into some sales. Then on Sunday, he was no longer there. And this whole area was pretty dead. When I had gone, and this is the sort of asterisk to this whole thing, I still made money. I was within maybe a couple $100 of my minimum goal for a show that I deem as it's worth it. Talking with the folks at GalaxyCon next year, and this isn't like some secret. Next year, it's not going to be Animate Weekend, Nightmare Weekend. It's going to be GalaxyCon. And I think that's going to be a good thing because think about it this way. Comic-Con, you're going to have fans of animation there because you're probably going to have voiceover actors. Plus, you're going to have people that are into horror coming there because they usually have like Kane Hodder, some of those guys that have played in a lot of different horror movies. On top of that, if you're doing just sort of a general Comic-Con, fan con, you're getting a wide breadth of people that now are interested in coming. Whereas if it's Nightmare and Animate, you might have people thinking, well, I'm not a horror fan or I'm not an animation fan. And then they end up not going to it when there's going to be tons of stuff like I got, across fandoms. They probably have a good time anyways, but just because it doesn't have the name GalaxyCon or Comic-Con, it's going to limit people coming in. So I think that this show next year, number one, is going to be more heavily attended. They had a good crowd, especially Saturday. Sunday, it kind of steeped off kind of early. But the other thing is they're going to change the layout. So where I'm facing this wall over here, they showed me the floor map for next year. Not going to be an issue. There's not going to be anything like this where, at least to my knowledge, where you're going to have dead space across from a booth. Whole floor is going to be utilized, which means they're probably going to be bringing in more vendors. But I'm confident as long as I can be facing the audience, I'm going to do just fine. I ended up re-upping for the next year. So I'm down for it. There's no conflicts as far as I know. My only concern is Cincinnati. Cincinnati has been jumping around with their dates the last couple of years, whether they're, what kind of weekend they are, whether it's September or October. And at this point, if they pick this show next year, the same date, I'm already locked in for Iowa. So we'll see what happens when we get there. But there were some other perks to the show. I'll show you here real quick. So right across from my hotel, I haven't been to one of these since like 2009. I had a Bennigan's. Talking about my inner fat kid being totally stoked that this was a stone's throw away from my hotel. I used to go to Bennigan's probably almost every Friday night, if not 2 to 3 times a month. I would go. They had amazing food, Guinness glazed burgers, Guinness glazed steaks, amazing stuff. That was when everyone else was going to Applebee's. Bennigan's was my jam. I would still go to Applebee's, but so definitely went there. The Monte Cristo, if you used to enjoy that, it has not changed one bit. This was like the hidden highlight of the weekend. Some of the stuff wasn't quite the same. The burgers weren't as good as they used to be. They no longer do the Guinness glaze. They have like a whiskey glaze they use, and I wasn't a big fan of the burger. With the Monte Cristo was spot on, so were the Southwest egg rolls. That alone had some bonus points to the weekend. There's me. They if you go there during happy hour and get a beer, you get a free beer token if you come back to another happy hour. So that was good. I opted to keep the chip. That's in the personal collection now, the PC. So that was all good. Let's see, what else do we have? All in all, man, I'd say it was a good weekend. The the limiting factor was the placement, and placement can make or break your show. And like I said, I was within striking distance of my minimum. So to me, um, and talking with the guys there, as long as I can get a spot that's, even if you would have rotated me to um, be facing inwards towards the middle of the show, I would have had more traffic coming over. Once you're facing a wall where there's no traffic, it's a hindrance. So I don't necessarily fault them for that. Um, in fact, they might have thought that putting me across from David Thornton would have been killer. In ways, it definitely helped. I've actually had that happen with one show. What was it? Denver Fan Expo last year. They actually came over. One of the guys came over and apologized for the placement. We're like, sorry, we're putting you in a corner, facing the corner, but the offset is Jim Lee's going to be over here. And in my mind, I'm like, that's either going to make my weekend amazing or going to absolutely kill me because the foot traffic's just going to be standing still. It's going to be a bunch of people standing in line. In that show, in that case, definitely worked to my advantage because they had the crowd control down to a science there. Didn't impact traffic at all as far as people clogging up the space in front of my booth. If anything, it made my weekend amazing. That was one of my best shows of 2023. So unfortunately, didn't get quite the results without for Iowa, but I am definitely going back. And I would say to any of my artist friends or any other folks that are thinking about coming to this show, I think this is one, if you're in the area, you definitely want to jump on. I think I'm trying to remember what other shows were going on last weekend. Not sure who else was jumping on that one, but at any rate, GalaxyCon always puts on a good show. They're good, friendly people. They actually give a darn about their vendors. When you show up for load in, they usually have donuts for the morning, donuts and coffee, and in the afternoon they'll do pizza. So that way, if you're stuck in there all day and you don't want to keep moving your vehicle around or leave it to go find food, definitely helps out. Why do I get the feeling like this camera turned off? Oh, that's strange. The light's no longer on, but it's capturing. So we'll call it a win. All right. What else we got here? Some other pictures from the weekend. So next to the hotel was this is literally attached to my hotel, a place called Liquorland. Some people get excited about going to Disneyland. I wasn't going to drink that much this weekend. I still didn't drink that much, but couldn't help but stop in. They had liquor and cigars, so I had to patronize them a little bit. Let's see. Got a lot of sketch covers done. I don't know how much I can show these on here, but talk about timing. So I did a Sydney Sweeney cover. She's become the new spokesperson for Dr. Squatch, if you've seen her commercials pop up. Old Deja Thoris, barely covered. Not sure how that got by in the early 1900s, but there you go. Rogue, this one ended up on her side. There we go. This is one of my favorite kind of mashup covers that I do. Doing like this headdress version of Scar. Well, Red Sonja, I might go back in and make her hair actually red. There's me at Bennigan's again. Couldn't help myself. Picture of the convention center. This Rogue is actually up over on Nerdcrawler. You can pull up Nerdcrawler. I'll pull up Nerdcrawler on the side. So let's see here. I've been playing more with the Copic sketch markers. And I like you can get these darker shades in here. Like normally I use pencil. Let's see. But yeah, we put this up on Nerdcrawler. See if we're still trending. Yeah, we're still top trending here. I decided to go ahead and up the price because I'm worth it. But there's a make me an offer option. So glad to see that's up there. But Nerdcrawler's pretty neat site. If you guys haven't been on there, and this is my little tangent. Nerdcrawler, they've got lots of buy now pieces. So there's a lot of folks that are signing up that if you're not paying to have the auction status where you can list things up for auction, you can either put it up for buy now or make me an offer. And got some really amazing stuff in here. You got everything from comic pages, original art, to different pinup stuff people have done. Let's see, splash page for each. Yeah, so you got some Superman pages, you got Spider-Man pages, some just custom drawings that people have made. This one's really cool. Let's take a look at this a little bit closer. So graphite art, 19 by 27 feet. 19 by 27 feet. Size of a building. Pretty sure that's supposed to be inches. Look at that detail. This guy's nuts. That shading. This is so we talked about, I think the last time, about how to price your original art. And in all reality, this is a giant piece this guy did, and it's an amazing piece. The detail, shading, composition, like this dude freaking did it. Pit that against, let's see, like page from a book, or sometimes commissions that someone's done. The challenge you run into is that if you don't have a big name, you can't sell your stuff at a premium. If it's not an official comic book art thing. And the whole thought process is that the comic book page has already it's already collectible. Someone else is probably going to want it at some point. You could probably go get it signed by the original artist or by an actor or something. Whereas if you did an original piece, no matter how well it's done, if you don't have a name, if you're not collectible, people are less likely to throw money at it. And this definitely includes myself. The only reason, I shouldn't say the only reason, but the main reason that I would want to work for like a Marvel or a DC would be to get that name recognition. Because I mean, look at this. I mean, this guy, wraparound sketch cover for $150. If somebody like it's like if a David Finch did this would probably be like a $1,500 sketch cover. Granted, David Finch, it's one of the GOATs, big name. It's just sad to see like you've got an amazing artist, amazing piece of art. What it really boils down to is that name recognition and collectability. So hopefully we all get famous so we can charge a lot more. I don't know how much people are buying on here though. So like I had put up a Black Cat piece month or two ago, and it had 80 some odd unique page views. And this one this rogue that I put up, I think has like 10 unique page views, and it's in one of the top trending spots. So I don't know. You guys let me know. Are people actually buying stuff on here? Let's look at the auctions. This took a wild left turn. I was talking about Iowa. Now here we are doing this. We'll come back to the auctions. Let's finish up talking about Iowa. How many commissions did I do? I think I only did one. There's a gal that came over. She wanted a Betty Boop for her daughter. The gal that played Betty Boop, voice actor maybe, I don't know, was there. So I'm sure she got her signed. So it's cool to be able to do something a little different, other than doing like comic style or horror stuff. So trying to keep all the lines as clean and neat as possible. It's a fun little piece to do. Broke up the weekend a bit. Let's see. Did a bunch of marker drawings. Well, Poison Ivy, Harley Quinn, Tifa. There's your Liquorland again. Laura Croft. And I was working on this one. This is where we'll segue the story. I was working on this one when had a random encounter, like the Final Fantasy days. Glass breaks suddenly you're in combat. But no, it wasn't combat. It was Charles Kyoto. So I'm just hanging out at the booth, and this guy comes over, and I had heard the name. I know that he's part of the Killer Clowns from Outer Space movie, team of brothers that put that together. But he saw me using these little sketch markers, the Copic markers, and we just started talking art for a while. And he was asking my opinion on them, if I liked them, if I was using them a lot, and all that good stuff. And we were sharing the same stories. Like, Copics are great to work with, but like $8 a marker. A lot of times they're coming in from Japan, so we're both kind of lamenting some of the issues we have with them. But he was telling me his process and what he likes to use them for. So we talked for maybe 10 minutes, and he's like, "Hey, I got something for you. I'll come back." And comes back with this limited run print of his artwork signed by the three brothers. So real cool that, Charlie came back, got me that. We got the picture. Super cool. I got to get a frame for this. I got to measure it, make sure. I think it's 18 by 24. But it's just cool. You never know who you're going to meet at these things. And the reality of it is that I don't really look to see who's going to be at these shows anymore. I used to chase that. So the thought process was, if certain celebrities were going to be at a show, I would try to have more artwork related to what they're doing. Maybe do a custom head sketch of them to see if somebody wants to buy it to go get it signed. Like, even this show, I had an Art the Clown original sitting there front and center. That's what was on this little rack right here. All weekend long, people would be like, "Oh, that's cool. That's awesome." Not interested. And it was actually marked down from what I normally charge. So people either already had stuff that they wanted to get signed, or they just wanted to get one of his photos, which is totally fine. But this is why I quit chasing what celebrities are going to be there and trying to make custom stuff, because that's how you get stuck with head sketches of people that aren't necessarily going to be at the next 10 shows that you do. That was there was one. It was one of the guys from Supernatural. I couldn't tell you their names because I don't watch Supernatural. I did a head sketch of him because he was actually at the show. And it was maybe 2 years later I saw him at another show, and I still had that sketch. So that's why I don't chase him anymore. So it was super cool to be able to meet Charles, hear a little bit about what he's working on. Sounds like he's going to have a Kickstarter of his own coming, where he's got a lot of his artwork that he's done that he's going to be putting in there as like a compilation deal. So that'll be coming up. Make sure you check that out and all that good stuff. Had another. So again, I don't pay attention to who's going to be at these shows, but found out that Jonan Vasquez was there, and he's the creator, artist, writer for one of my favorite cartoons ever, which is Invader Zim. We got any Invader Zims in the chat? Any Invader Zim fans, I should say. So I've had this blank sketch cover forever. The only thing that's on the sketch cover is Zim's face in the background there, which now looks like he kind of has a mustache, but that's Minnie Moose floating. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to go over and I'm going to get Jonan to sign it. Why not? I'm here. He's here. Let's just see. Let's just see what it's about, right? So I walk over. There's no one at the table. It's Sunday afternoon. It's a little bit later in the day. There's a lot of celebrities that are already packed up and left. And I walked up, and in my mind, it's like I've never gone to a celebrity booth to get something signed. So in my mind, I'm like, I don't know if I had to like pre-sign up for this. I know some shows you have to get like tickets to go, get something autographed. But I walk up and it's him and his assistant. I'm like, hey, I've never done this before. And Jonah's like, whoa, what are you going to do, man? You going to like break dance or something? Totally got me cracking up. Broke the ice. Was fantastic. So we're both laughing. I was telling him how I first discovered Invader Zim, and that was back in, had to have been like 2004 or 5. Got home super late one night from work. It was like 1 or 2 in the morning. And we had a demo channel that would just marathon different shows to try to get you to subscribe to different internet or cable packages. And there's this goofy little robot dog that's shooting sandwiches out of his head. And I was just like beyond fascinated. Ended up watching. And within a week, I owned the complete DVD set. So he's laughing and joking. We're just talking shop at that point. Told him that, I was one of the artists there. And all I wanted was an autograph. That was it. Just an autograph. And I was maybe going to draw something on there. He ended up doing this awesome Minnie Moose sketch. Cracked me up. Love it. He's one of my favorite little side characters in there. And then I come to find out, because I'm not very observant, I don't pay attention to things, that they have darn near the whole main voice acting cast there at the show. I turn and look and like, oh, that's Gurr. I don't remember these guys' names. I just know them by their characters. Don't judge me too hard. I live under a rock. But the dude who played Gurr is literally standing right next to me. So I get him to sign it. Melissa, something that plays Gaz, is there. She signed it. And then Richard Horvitz is down there, plays Zim. He had a couple people in line, but I'm like, you know what? We're just going to do it. We're going to get everybody. So I go down there, and he's already in a great mood. He's like, what's your name, bud? I'm like, yeah, I'm Steve. And he's like, Steve. Victory for Steve. And he's just like doing the whole voice and everything. And I'm just tickled to death. Turns out he's been working on his own little Zim sketch, and he didn't want to be outdone by Jonan. So he drew a little Invader Zim kind of coming off the foot of Minnie Moose here. So that was super cool. I've never really done anything like this before. So this is in a personal collection. I have no intention of ever selling this thing. This definitely made my weekend. Between me and Charlie, and then meeting especially Jonan, but the cast of people that were on this show. Super cool. And they were all super nice too. So definitely was awesome. So yeah, Iowa, other than that, stayed one last night, stayed in a little, what was it, a Quality Inn, maybe 10 minutes away, 15 minutes away, reasonably priced. I was a little concerned. There was a bus that rolled up. I think it was Saturday. I think it was Saturday. Maybe it was Friday night. I don't know. There was some kind of, I believe, marching band, maybe competition or something going on. And there was probably 60 some odd, if not more, kids that came pouring in, high school age kids. And I'm like, I don't know that I'm going to get any sleep. This is probably going to be chaos. And quickly realized that was not the case. All the kids that I would walk past, or they were very cordial. They would get out of people's way. They were very mindful of not being in the way. Even in the morning, I didn't eat the hotel breakfast. They didn't. That's my only thing I'll say, is that the hotel breakfast was If you're expecting continental, we'll call it subcontinental. Very limited. Not real coffee. Coffee came out of a machine that would spit it into your cup. But just walking by, I noticed that they wouldn't take all of the tables, even though there were so many people there, and they easily overwhelmed that little breakfast area. They were literally like sitting in the hallway and in the lobby on the floor just so other people could have tables. So that was super cool to see. The kids are going to be all right, friends. There's still some good ones out there. And I even overheard the one night, one of the directors was walking down the hall talking to, I don't know if it's a chauffeur or one of the parents or something, but he said something to the effect of like 10:30's lights out. We're going to be walking around checking rooms, making sure that these kids aren't bothering anybody. And they didn't. So that was cool. Any other closing notes about Iowa? I ended up leaving at like 2:30 in the morning and got home Monday. I think it was around 3 o'clock in the afternoon with making several pit stops, all that good stuff. I think it was around 2 or 3. And I'm still recovering. We closed out Slaughter Dolls on, what was that? Monday afternoon. I have no concept of time. No concept. But we closed out. I think it was 153% to goal. So this is my new focus. I got to get the lettering as far as the story is done. Get rid of Invader Zim. I have to finalize the word bubbles, and I'm more than a third of the way through it. My goal is to have it done tonight, if not tomorrow. And then the other books, have it all formatted, ready to ship out to get proofs done either Friday or first thing Saturday. So that way, Kickstarter, if you've ever backed one, you probably know, like, it takes a couple weeks to get the funds from the Kickstarter. Because what ends up happening is you might have someone that swiped their credit card a month ago, 2 months ago to back a project. They might have forgot that their credit card was going to expire, or they may not have sufficient funds, that sort of thing. So there's inevitably going to be a dip. Could be $10, could be $100, what have you, of folks that meant to back the show, or I'm sorry, meant to back the comic, but the credit card's not going to work. I've already had one person reach out to me. We're going to get it figured out. At any rate, this is very rewarding. I made some investments on a couple things. One thing I have to add is that Slaughter Dolls is now officially trademarked. So I got to add a little TN. And then on top of that, I think I'm adding, I am adding 2 more pages. It was on the way back from Iowa. I had made up my mind. I wasn't going to do it. I was going to save those 2 pages for issue 3. It was part of a flashback sequence that kind of explains sort of the broken branch that put these girls on the trajectory that they're on. A little bit of the backstory. And in my mind, there was someone that had made a comment. I think it was Anna, that Star Wars girl. She had a criticism of some of the indie comics where she made a comment like, some of you guys are only releasing an issue once per year, and it's not fair that you leave so much hanging for the next story. Like, yes, you should have a cliffhanger so people want to back the next one. But if you have 5 story threads and none of the loops get closed on this issue, you're making that person wait a whole nother year when they had the confidence to back you to get a story. So don't make us wait an entire year to have this many plot threads open. So it's like, you know what? It wasn't feedback to me. It wasn't directed at me, but it is relevant to me. So I decided we need to take that to heart. These 2 pages I was going to save for the first couple pages of issue 3. We're just going to round out that part of the story. Actually, I have the pencils right here off to the side. So that is going to be really like the first thing I do once we get done here is I'm going to be inking those. It is part of a black and white flashback sequence, so it's not going to take very long to shade. And that's going to be part of what gets sent out this weekend. So very excited about that. Very happy that we had so many people back the project, all that good stuff. So that is the big thing in the works. I am also finalizing. There's a special preview available with an exclusive cover for Alice in Slaughterland. That has the story for the 9-page preview. It's all written in there. Doing the same thing with the word bubbles. One of the things I also invested in was a bunch of font packs. I had been using one font pack for the longest time that just it worked. It was good for what it was, but there were little things that just drove me up a wall. And of course, I don't think I have any examples that I can reasonably show you. But something as simple as if I wanted to make a word bold or italicized, the one font that worked really well just for normal speaking did not have bold or italic options. I had to switch to another font that was in the pack and then pick bold or italic every single time. And if you've ever like paid attention to how many words get emboldened or italicized in a comic, there's quite a few. So that would be sometimes like 8, 9, 10 times a page that I was having. It was just a quality of life thing, having to go through and constantly change that. So I invested in font pack that does it all as far as normal speech. Love the way that it looks. I like the fact that I don't have to keep clicking around. I can just hit Control B, Control C, and make that font do what I want it to. But then the other bit is I got some fonts for like sound effects, that sort of thing. So I spent altogether, I think it was like $280 on fonts. And the big thing being is that they are I have the license to use them now. So some of the fonts previously, if you've talked to any other indie creators, some of those fonts, they say that they might be limited use or limited legal use, that sort of thing. You have to worry about that. The font packs that I have, I don't have to worry about it anymore. To the point where, like, let's see if I can pull it up here real quick. So, like in Slaughter Dolls here, there's a couple times where here's a good one. I was actually handwriting in the sound effect. I think it still works pretty good. I like the fact that it's got some energy to it. Kind of adds to the scene. I always like drawing little people flipping people off. Cracks me up. But for some of the things, some of the words that I was trying to do, like the sound effects, I just didn't like how handwritten it looked. I wanted something that looked professional, well executed. And instead of trying to reinvent the wheel, I bit the bullet and just got the rights to do the different font packs. So that's pretty cool. I'm digging that. What else we got going on? I think I just closed the wrong thing. So yeah, that wraps up Iowa. Wraps up the projects that I've been working on. I wanted to go back to that nerd crawler real quick. Do I have that open still? Let's take a look at some of the auctions. Yeah, here we go. So, nerd crawler, the big appeal is that they vet out the artists that are coming in. You can see down the side here where they've got the different check marks. I don't even know if I've got a green check mark yet. Premier creators. What's this? Reserved for established creators and sellers. Yeah, so I am not legendary. I am quite a common creator, as it turns out. I don't even know if I have a green check mark yet. You can go back and look. But if you want the ability to sell on here, to do auctions, you either have to pay money to have a premium account. And that's going to be, I believe, that blue check mark, which may behoove me. or there's a wait list. I was told I was waitlisted maybe a week after I applied originally. Because the way it works is, I don't know if it has the information available here, but um, just a free account, I think you have a limit of like 5 auctions you can have going on at a time, which for me, that would be fine. If you want to be able to do, I think it's up to like 60 or 100 in a month, you have to pay, I think, probably wrong, but I want to say it was something like $90 a month. The appeal is that their percent that they take from your sales is much smaller than eBay or whatnot or some of these other sites. Plus, you're less likely to get scammed because they're trying to do their due diligence to qualify that you are actually who you say you are. So, all that to say, I'm not sure that I want to spend the extra $90 a month or what have you. Um, I've only sold one thing on here so far. I've hit top trending multiple times. I've had on some of these, I've had over 80 people, 80 unique page views from different accounts. Then you come here to the auctions that are closing. You got one that has one bid for $100, and then you've got this one that has 17 bids. That's got it up to 230. It'll probably pop up here a little bit more. It's really well done back row there. But like Peter Smith is an amazing artist. He's done a lot of work for Disney. And I think I've seen some of his pieces, some of his, like, some amazing stuff that is still, some has moved very quickly, others are still sitting there. So I don't know how active, like, we go from having 2 that are ending today, a couple that are ending tomorrow, one that's ending Saturday. Got some amazing art on here. No bids on this one. This is an amazing Psylocke. John Royal has been very active on here. I think he's one of these guys. Same with like Sora Song that got in kind of early. That they have an audience that knows to come here to get stuff from them. But then you run into this thing, and I was talking to some guys that are big on like Whatnot and Facebook Live and all that. Once you get an audience that likes your stuff for what you are doing, why would they buy it from a site like Nerdcrawler or Whatnot when they can just contact you directly? Like, hey, dude, I know you're working on such and such, or if you're going to be working on such and such, email me directly. I will pay you what I paid you for this. That stuff happens all the time. So I don't know if that's going on here with these guys at all. It wouldn't surprise me. But yeah, there's a lot of great stuff on here. More Marissa Pope stuff popping up. Yeah, John Royal's all over here. He's got really cool stuff, but like one bid, 0 bids, 0 bids, 1 bid. Okay, we got a 7 for a Lobo here. That was early on. Who's that with? Ben Templesmith. So he's a big name. What else we got? 1 bid on this. 1 bid for $1. Oh, that hurts. That hurts. So here's the biggest one so far. Original Art Adams from Essential Sequential, which is one of the biggest names in art representation out there. So that's going for $2,000. 90 bids. And just, again, got this amazing piece. It's a 19 by 27. It really does boil down to the collectability in the name. It really does. If Art Adams had done this Witchblade at 19 by 27 inches, that would probably be like a $15,000 piece easily. I'm talking out of my ass. But, so, I don't know. You tell me. Is Nerdcrawler worth the time and effort? Like, this is the highest bidding one, I think. 17 bids for this Batgirl. Everything else, Like, shit, I kinda want this Psylocke. I'm not even that big of a Psylocke fan, it's just really well done. Um, yeah, I think 17 bids is the highest other than at Art Adams. That was so I was talking to another artist back in when was it? August? He was telling me that the word on the street is that there's a lot of people that are shopping Nerdcrawler, but there's not enough quality art getting posted. And I mean, I see it as kind of the opposite. It's like there's a lot of great art. um oops. The big one being like if we go over to let's just go to like make me an offer. So there's going to be a lot of folks that we've already seen in the auctions. They've also like here's Dave Nessler. He did that Psylocke we just looked at. Let's take a look at this. So it's quality, solid 9x12 for 250. Or make me an offer. Let's see. We got some really cool Star Wars stuff. I don't know who this guy is. This guy's awful. Steve Messenger. Get out of here. What else we got? Trying to push a button over here. Make sure I'm not missing anything. Hello, my friends in the chat. What do you guys think? Nerdcrawler. Is this worth investing? Even if it's $30 a month to get auction status. So I have a ton. I have a ton of original art. I just know that there's some of this stuff I've seen in the buy it now. I've seen it on here for quite some time. And the auction stuff, I'm not confident. I'm not confident that it's moving. I feel like if you have a lizard. Yeah, that's the other thing. It's like Nerdcrawler kind of popped up out of nowhere. It was really hot for, I don't know, a couple months. I actually sold something on here. Actually need to collect my money from it. I need to link my PayPal. But like I said, I'm still to make me an offer. Take me to the auctions. Looks like the hottest two items are this Batgirl by Bard. I'm not familiar with Bard. Let's check him out. And then this Art Adams down here from Essential Sequential. And I feel like if you've got a company like Essential Sequential, I don't know that they have to go to Nerdcrawler. I mean, they already do. They probably have a con every month that they go to, would be my guess. Plus their online audience. So, but I don't know. Let's check out this Bard fellow. Get out of here. Go back. Can I see Bard? Can I go to Bard? So I had 335 total views on it. No, it's just this one. See if we can find my lame account. Let's see. Let's see it. Stop it, Siri. Stop it. Suppose we should probably look at users. You'd be signed in. Oh, we're not going to do that right now. We're not going to do that. Never mind. I don't know. Food for thought. I think there's some. I think there's opportunity here with Nerdcrawler. I do. Like I said, I've made one sale on here. I just don't know that paying extra to be able to do auctions. And if you notice a trend, like of the things that are moving, it tends to be more of the ladies and the pinups. Every now and then you get another one that's not that, but like this April O'Neil has a bid. But I feel like if you're gonna finish out an auction with one bid, you probably could have just got it on to buy it now. Like this. I'm not sure who this fella is. Let's take a peek. Well, Firestorm. Does he have any other stuff? Yeah, little Blue Devil. It's got some cool pencil work. Little Zatanna Black Canary deal. Not for sale. So you might have already sold them. I remember seeing this one go up, this Hawkeye. Let's just take a peek. What do we get? What do we get? Yeah, so it did sell. $200. That's good. See this one. Little Hulk. And Logan, winning bid for $240. I don't know. So this was all a month ago. Let's just check out them more. We're doing a little market research here. This guy has quite a few. Let's see. Winning bid, $200. Seems to be the sweet spot. 3,862 views. Looks like I got some decisions to make. $300 for a storm. Not bad. Not bad. All right. There was another thing that came up on the last stream I wanted to bring up. And while we're at it, for those of you watching, I've got a few sketch covers I might be working on here. Might do one of these. Got an Ultimate Black Panther, a Batgirl. I don't know if that signature, there's a signature on there. I don't know if someone signed this or if that's printed. It looks like it's written on there. So I don't know if I accidentally bought someone's autograph thing. I don't know. That Gunslinger Spawn. But one of the other things that had come up was, let's see here, was doing some digital coloring stuff. So I wanted to play a little bit of this. Let me know in the chat if the audio is screwed up. But this guy has single-handedly helped me improve my coloring game. There's a few things that he does for post-processing. I'm not going to play the whole video by any means. But Line Sensei. There's a couple sections here that are definitely worth watching. He goes over from how he does a pencil sketch to how he does line weights, his flats, his backgrounds, all that good stuff, shading. For those of you who are looking to up your shading game in general, watch this portion. He does even more shading, but the big one for me was, let's see, shallow depth of field. He goes over how much an impact, I'm going to mute this for right now, how much an impact just using a little bit of a blur for the background. So he's selected majority of his background and he's applying a blur effect. Can draw focus to your subject. And he'll soften that up so there's a gradual effect there. But it makes her pop out even more. And then the next thing that made a big difference was this. So this is a super subtle effect. Yeah, dude, definitely. This is I have this video bookmarked, or I had it bookmarked for the longest time until I got this figured out. This tip right here makes a huge difference, and it's super subtle. The idea is if you use an overlay layer, overlay is usually something like if you want something to have more of a glow to it and that sort of thing, you can add sort of this halo around things. Well, what he does is he'll go in and use purple on the more shaded areas that you don't want focus on, and then he'll bring in like a golden orange, golden yellow on areas that you do want focus. Blur it a little bit, use that Gaussian blur. Then check this out. And this is on an overlay blending layer. He then will back down the opacity so you can still see there's a lot of a glow. Back it down even more. And now you've got super subtle, but it draws more focus to where you want your viewers to look. I think that alone has been huge. I do that now on I'll show you on a page. Let's see. Adding it. Here we go. So this is my easily most go-to picture. You can barely see it, but around face and chest, I'll put just a little bit of that glow and then do a little bit of that bluish purplish glow on things that aren't the primary focus to really push your eyes to where you want the focus to be. Super subtle, makes a huge difference. So definitely start looking into that. Use that overlay layer, blur it a little bit. The next thing he does is also pretty cool. I would have never thought to do this, but he copies the whole canvas after he does that. He puts it on a new layer. And then he will super saturate it. He'll mess with the curves until you get this really like overcooked image. Like super overcooked. So the skin's really warm, background's a lot cooler. Areas where the sun's hitting or the light's hitting is brighter. And then he'll put that on a blur. And then you can either put it on a screen layer or an overlay layer. Screen will typically make everything brighter. Overlay will typically make everything a little bit darker. But then he just backs it down. And you can see how much it jumps back and forth when he plays with the sliders. You go from having a duller image to a brighter image. Here's messing around with some blur and all that good stuff. It's not a bad idea to blur your line art. So what I'll do is I'll do 2 layers of line art. And I've been doing this for a while, where I'll put the original, then a multiply layer, and then I'll blur the multiply layer just a little bit. And it just makes your lines kind of roll into the rest of your image that much better. Last thing, let's see. He adds a noise layer. I've been doing this for probably about a year now, year or two. What I was doing before was I was using noise on the skin layer. So like, this is from the pinup cover book, but if you really zoom in, you can see like I added a noise layer. So where this would normally just be a gradient of one color, now you've got all this sort of organized chaos in here that just makes the skin look more textured and grippy. Couple that with the fact that that's pencil shading that I scanned in. But what I would do is you can even see here, you can see some of that noise, is that I would make a noise layer for just the skin. I would use a gradient map to make that noise all be the same color, same gradient as the skin tone, and then adjust it on a multiply layer to make it look grippy. He's doing this across the whole image. And so I've started implementing this a little bit here and there where I think it makes sense. If you're doing comics in particular, you actually get a little bit of noise when it prints on the page, especially if you're using like a satin finish for your pages. So I wouldn't overdo the noise if you're doing comics. If you're doing prints, if you're doing pinups and that sort of thing, then definitely have that noise. But here, after he's done the noise layer, he does one more copy canvas, paste, and then he chooses a gradient map for the whole image. And I think this is probably the most notable, should I say, noticeable effect that he does that ties the whole thing together. If you've never used gradient maps before, definitely watch this video. But what he does is he goes in, he makes it so certain colors he wants to be warmer are going to be warmer. But then again, even the images in the background are going to be on that same sort of color wavelength. He'll then set that layer to actually be on a color blending option. And then he backs down the opacity until you get a nice cohesive look. And I think that, let me see if I've got, no, I don't have a contrast here. Um, but so like, this is going to be one of the 2-page spreads in Slaughter Dolls coming out. Even if it was just having the sky as the background, putting that gradient map on just makes there be like a cohesive tone to the whole page. So definitely worth checking out. I would again, it's Line Sensei, and the video is called "Add Instant Impact and Quality with Post Processing." He has several other tips in here, like adding some glow. So if you got a light source behind, I've done that on a few pieces. I do it a different way, but then there's one more here. I actually use this for a couple of the pinups that's going to be going into the Slaughter Dolls book. Is that if you want to turn it from a daytime picture into a nighttime picture, he just makes a multiply layer, puts on dark shade of blue. You can see the blue that he's using over here. And then he just erases it around the things that he wants to be lit up. So she's being backlit by, we'll assume, the moon. And then because there's already a harsh difference, it's interesting. Technically, there probably shouldn't be highlights. I think he even says this in the video. There's some areas that probably shouldn't have highlights like it does in the daytime version. But because you have this super harsh contrast with the lighting on coming from the back, in your mind, you're just like, well, that's probably a reflective light source, something like that. Unless it's overdone, you don't have to do anything different. So super cool effect. I actually tried it on a couple of pieces, and I like the way it works. And there, he's just adjusting the opacity and the blend there, giving a little bit more of a glow. So this dude, I'm telling you, like if you guys are, yeah, if you're trying to up your game, that's the best way to learn, man. Line Sensei, Mark Burnett. As far as coloring goes, those two guys have been the biggest impact on me. The one thing that Mark Burnett suggested in one of his videos, let's see if I can pull up a, let's see. So here's a black and white. It's probably not the best example, but what he would do in his, and there's a little bit of it going on here, is that he showed a way to take like traditional grayscale art, and save a lot of time in the coloring process. Pretty much what it boils down to is when you go in, kind of like he's doing his flats here. Let's see, flats. So going in and just doing all the skin, one color, doing the hair, one color, doing all your different elements, you know, that their respective colors. What Mark Burnett would do is you'd make this color here, like her skin, go all the way up to the outline of the skin. So the actual black line, he would bring that color all the way to the edge of that where it meets the white. Then you select that layer and you go to your traditional grayscale while it's still selected, and then you can change the overall, all your grayscale to fit, I guess, that color. What I mean here is, let's bring up that pinup again. It's very subtle. You can actually see where I kind of missed a little bit. But by bringing her skin tone all the way to the edge and then changing the actual line art, this is a softer skin tone. And you can see where I didn't get all the way to the edge because I'm sloppy. That's the original black pen there. So this all used to be black pen, but by changing that gradient map, it just softens up that line art. Should be able to really see it on her nose. So yeah, none of this is pure black. It's more of that sepia or brown. So definitely check out Mark Burnett as well. But yeah, wanted to cover that. Let's get some some perspective on it. I don't think I'm going to go to full 3 hours today. Um, one of my goals with the channel here is to get more engagement in general with different artists that are kind of in the scene. So if there's any topics that you guys want to see me cover or talk about, big thing is just recapping previous weekend's show if I was at a show, and then if there's anything else going on in the business, want to be able to jump into those different things. I have a lot of lettering stuff that I want to do today that I need to get done. My goal is to have it done by this weekend. So I don't think I'm going to do any sketch covers today. I really need to focus on lettering. So appreciate you guys hanging out in the chat. We're going to set this up for the same time next week, same time around 1 o'clock, and go from there. So, guys, thanks for tuning in. Appreciate you all hanging out. See you at the next one. See ya.